What? There are people mad about the new Toyota Supra? Come on now. The day of the big V8 is coming to an end. The days of driver's cars are slowly coming to an end. And it breaks my heart that the Toyota Supra has been gifted to us. And yet some of us want to argue about whether or not it's going to be an awesome car or whether or not BMW is going to ruin what could have been an awesome car. So I want to talk about a few things. I want to get a few things off my mind and share why I think the Toyota Supra is going to be a phenomenal, awesome car, and why we need to be glad that BMW took the time to help Toyota in this joint venture making the Toyota Supra. So let's take a step back. This isn't the first time that Toyota has actually worked with another manufacturer to bring us awesome. In fact, it's not the first time that any manufacturer has worked with another manufacturer to bring us something awesome. Example number one, this one's my favorite. It's Toyota and Subaru working together to bring us the FRS, the BRZ, and the GT86. I don't hear anyone complaining. You even have the truck manufacturers like Chevy and Ford working together to bring us the 10-speed automatic transmission that's found in the Camaro, the Corvette, and in the Mustangs. Complaints? Another example, Ford and Mazda working together to bring us the small pickup trucks back in the 80s and the 90s. Some of you might not even know this, but Toyota and Tesla actually used to work together. They tried to do the first electric RAV4. It ended up being a failure, rest in peace. But moving forward, we know that the new electric RAV4 is actually pretty solid. And as for Tesla, you know the rest. It's history. And then now my current favorite, Toyota and BMW working together to bring back the Supra. First of all, how can you even argue? Toyota and BMW both know how to make cars. They've been doing it for a very long time. Both of them combined is a very long time. And if you're watching this and you're saying, oh, the GTR this, the GTR that, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? The GTR, don't forget, was inspired by Gundam robots. And if you guys don't know what Gundams are, that's what the GTR was inspired by. While I know that looks are subjective, take a look at the Z4. Very, very gorgeous car, in my opinion. It's going to basically be the cousin to the Supra. They're going to share the engine, transmission, and chassis. So let's put the looks aside because that's something we can argue for days. And we'll talk about numbers because that's important. Let me back up a second. Numbers are important, but the thing is, if you actually drive certain cars, numbers are just what they are. They're just numbers, but certain cars can make you feel a certain way. And the thing is, the Mark IV, many of us haven't even had the chance to drive. So we don't really know exactly what driving an old Supra is like versus, driving a new Supra now. Here's some quick numbers on the 2JZ GTE from the Mark IV. It made 276 horsepower originally, and then later it was making 320 horsepower with 315 foot-pounds of torque. It had a 0 to 60 time of 4.6 seconds, and that was about weighing 3,400 pounds. So pretty solid numbers. Even by today's standards, those are pretty phenomenal numbers. I would actually buy a car with those same performance numbers to this day because again, horsepower is only part of the story. It's not everything. Even though this car is pretty much a BMW in a nutshell, it's going to be tuned and modified and everything by Toyota. So we don't exactly have confirmed specs of where, the Supra is going to be. But for a close comparison, I'm going to use the BMW Z4, the M40i version. The Z4 M40i has 382 horsepower, 369 foot-pounds of torque, and it does a 0 to 60 time in about 4.4 seconds. We've heard rumors that the Supra is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 3,300 pounds, which is actually pretty solid, especially considering that you have all the new safety features. It's going to have all of those, and a lot of those are, again, from BMWs. But that's okay. They're awesome features. But let's say you heard those numbers and you didn't even know anything about the prior Supra. Would you still be interested? I know I would, because those are pretty solid performance numbers. I can't argue with that. Another awesome rumor I've heard is that the new Supra is supposed to have 50-50 weight distribution. Where have I heard another car that has 50-50 weight distribution? The Miata. Yeah. Awesome car, fun to drive, and doesn't have a whole lot of horsepower when you look at it. But again, horsepower isn't everything. Something else that pops up from time to time is that the Supra is basically a parts bin BMW. But again, what's so wrong with being a parts bin BMW? If I was ever going to be in the position to build a car with BMW's parts bin, I'd be pretty excited. That's just me again. It's a lot better than having to dig through a parts bin of Kia. And even then, with Kia's new N division, that's not even too bad. So really, the parts bin scenario is really not a bad scenario at all. Going back a little bit, the reason why Toyota decided to reach out to BMW is because they don't have an inline six anymore. So who's got the best inline six on the market right now? BMW. So that's a no-brainer. You know, yes, Porsche has an inline six, but again, you guys talk about costs and this, that, and the other because it's a BMW. But guess what? It could be worse if it was a Porsche. I think it would be a lot worse because that car would no longer be aiming for a $50,000 price point. I feel like it would be somewhere in the ballpark of 60 to 70, and that's starting. If BMW called me right now and asked me to grab something from their parts bin, I guarantee you I'd have no problem asking for an N54, which is the inline six twin turbo, or the N55, which is also an inline six but single turbo. I'd gladly take one of those. There's not many car manufacturers out there that have made an awesome V10 sedan that can do this. If any of you have had the chance to drive the M5, the M3, the M6, then you know what I'm talking about. You know that BMW makes awesome cars. Yes, repairs can be kind of costly, but if you're a DIY kind of person, you do things in your garage, you can save a lot of money. Yes, the dual clutch transmissions that they make can be, again, costly to repair, but there's no dual clutch transmission that isn't costly to repair. Again, if Porsche had jumped in and decided to work with Toyota and give them their PDK or something like that, which is Porsche's version of the dual clutch transmission, again, repairs would be through the roof. It's no different because it's a BMW. So those of you that are saying it's a BMW, it's going to be this, that, and the other, check your facts. Now, I won't go so far as to call the new Toyota Supra motor the 3JZ. I've heard people say it. I'll let them have it. I won't go that far though. But for those of you that are surprised that that's the motor that's going back inside of the Supra, you pretty much are doing the Pikachu meme face right now. Why would they put anything else other than a twin turbo or twin scroll turbo inline six into the Supra? They're at least sticking with the same recipe. And that's about where I'll end my rant. Thank you guys for checking it out. If you guys have any comments that you'd like to share about the Supra, the past Supra, BMW, go ahead, let me hear it down in the comment section below. I try to do this once a week where I pick a topic and talk about, and then in the next coming weeks, again, usual car reviews, at least once a week I try to do. So if you like that information and you like this content, be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for checking out LJ's Garage.